So this next part here is a little bit trickier where we want to end up with the total points earned and the total max points. So we're going to use reduce here. Anytime you hear the word total and we're talking about some values within an array, most likely you want to use reduce. You want to take the item or data structure within your array and you want to transform it or reduce it down into something completely different. A lot of times that's a single value. So let's do this here, and then we'll kind of do it a little bit of a fancier way too. So we're going to start by just saying total points earned, and same type of idea. Okay, there we go. This is good enough here. We're going to actually do this a little bit fancier once we get through here. So we've already talked about reduce here. It's a little bit trickier, but if you remember, actually I hate this name, like ACC, so I'm going to hit F2, and let's just be clear about what it is. Total, I don't want to use the same name up there, but just something better than ACC. Yeah, there we go. Total points, and then total max. Right, so the finished variable is total points earned. While we're running this reduce, we need to keep track of it inside of here, right? Inside of this callback function that's being used by the reduce. So we just need another name in here. So ACC is short for accumulator, which is the generic name, but I don't like that. So I like to name it something a little bit more clear. If you want to stick with ACC, that's fine, because it is pretty much a convention for anybody that knows about reduce. So just again, we've talked about reduce before, but what we're doing in here is we found a student, and inside of the student, we have, let's see, found, oh, sorry. So here's our courses, and here's our, we found a student, whichever student it is. And now we're looking at assignments, and that is also an array. Again, because it's an array, we have access to the reduce method, which all arrays get access to that because of the array prototype. And it has to be, like I said, an array, and we want to be in a situation where we're trying to get some sort of a total. So this is prime target for using a reduce. So it's same thing, it iterates over every item in the array. The only difference is we need two things. We need to keep track, the running total, keep track of the thing that we're building up within our array, and then we need the actual item. Okay, so just to be a little bit more clear here, I'm going to take this points out, and I'm going to say current assignment. So that's explicitly clear. Dot points, right? So in case you don't like, oh, there we go. I'll do it like this again. So again, we have our total points, and then we have each individual assignment. If you really look at this and spell this out, what we're doing is initializing the total points at 0. I'll just add a little comment here for total points. So we start at 0, right? Same thing here, initial value for total max. So it starts at 0, and now we come in here. Okay, 0 plus what? Go to the first assignment, look at the point, 0 plus 85. That's done next. Now it's 85 plus 18. So on and so forth. So that's how reduce works in the simplest sense. And once we have these two values, then we can calculate the percentage. So we can say, I mean, you can be fancy like that. We're gonna make this. We're gonna keep it kind of very simple and readable initially, and then we'll make it fancier. Yeah, I think that's fairly readable if you know how to do an average from any sort of math class. Take your total points earned over the total max points, and you multiply times 100, and that's it. Now, what you can do is also, you know what, this video is already getting so long, I'm not going to worry about this type of stuff. So we're going to say we want to work with the capital M math object, and we'll wrap this in a math.round. Okay, so you can look that up on MDN, but this is intrinsic object provides basic. So this is the, again, it's extends from the object prototype, but it's math. the only difference with this is all of the methods are static. A static method means it's called directly on the actual object, the math object. And because there's no such thing as, oh, you can create an instance of an array, you can create an instance of an object literal, but you don't create an instance of a math. Math is just math. So that's why it's a capital M, and we do all of that stuff here. Let's see. I think I'm missing some parentheses or something like that. What is the problem here? Oh, I think I had extra parentheses, right? And then you know what? You don't have to. Since we know we're returning at this point, this isn't super. We'll just hit the return. So there we go. Now we've had all of the steps done in here, and this would be a great spot to commit. Now at this point, I want to show how I would, I guess you could say make this code more elegant is the word. But let's be clear. If you like it the way this is right here, and this is how you want to write it, that's fine. That works just fine. What I'm going to show you is how we could make this code more elegant. We can take it or leave it. In other words, you don't have to write the code like that, but you should at least be exposed to other ways to implement this code, whether or not you want to write it like that, but you still need to be able to read and understand it. So I'm going to do, first thing I'm going to do here to make this, fancier is I'm going to just go back and use the destructuring. So I'll put the braces there. And there we go. And there we go. Okay. So all I've done here is object destructuring, where instead of saying, whatever assignment dot points, we know we want the points, just destructure it right here and just use it as is. So again, this, what we put in here in the braces for destructuring, it has to be an actual key from this particular object. We can't just make up our own name. Well, we can, because you can rename this, but we don't worry about that. Okay, so that's one step towards making it a little bit more elegant. Let me delete this code, because the comment rather. Now, rather than doing two different variables, we can actually do this in one step. And I'm going to see how well the AI will do in refactoring this. So let's give it a shot rather than me typing all this. I'm going to hit Command I to do an inline chat. And yeah, I mean, you can configure your models and things. I think these should be the defaults. I mean, if you're not sure, just leave it at the default. All right, so now I'm going to hit / for the command. Oh, they don't have that command anymore. So I'm just going to type in natural language what it is I want done. So I'm going to say, oh, shoot. Okay. So refactor this code to just use one variable now. So we can actually put this together into one reduce, and the difference is it will use an accumulator. I'll say initialize like this. So again, initialize. So this is also like, it's not AI doesn't just replace our learning. We need to iterate, go step by step, and we need to be able to communicate to the AI what it is that we want done. And as we get better at that, it will save some time rather than me cutting and editing things. Let's see how well it does. But this is the prompt that I'm going to use, and we're going to just do this, and let's see what happens. Okay, so it shows us, what changed. It's taking a quick look at this. It went back to using the stupid name here, which is stupid, but I will accept it, and at least that's less code that I have to change. So again, not that impressive, because why would you, you already saw that I want to be explicit here, and now you're going back to this generic ACC. That's kind of dumb. But I will accept it, and then I will also accept that right there. I'll just hit keep. Okay, there we go. So let's take a look at what changed. Okay, so first thing is I'm going to highlight this and improve the name. And I'm going to say, here's some suggestions. Total points accumulator. I mean, okay, since I don't have to type it, I'll take that one. I think it's a little long. I would have just said total points. But then again, total points is in here. All right. I don't think we need all of this here. I'm going to take this out. This just adds confusion. Let's see. Unsafe. Oh, okay. I see what it's saying. Okay, I'll put this back in and we'll talk about this. All right. So the reduce part starts the same way. So what we actually want to do to better understand this is just not worry about this for the moment. Let's look at how we're initializing that total points accumulator. Just looking at that, you may already have an idea of where this is going. So rather than keeping it in two different variables, we're making this a little bit more succinct by saying, look, I just need an object, a newly created object, and it's going to have two things in here, total points and total max points, both initialize at 0. So if you just look at that part and focus on that, you could already start to visualize where this is going. Instead of having two different variables, we're just going to have one variable that's going to keep both of these in one object. And we can see here, when this is all said and done, we're just going to pull out the total points and the total max points. So it's less verbose. So now let's open this up, and if we understand that part, then perhaps this isn't as hard to understand either. So here's that. Here's what we just put together. Points. This is the same as we had before, except we're putting it together. Points comes from here, and max points. So every single item that comes through here, get the points and max points. When you have that, remember that accumulator that we created right here? Well, you're going to go to total points. Whatever it's sitting on right now, total points, which is going to be 0 plus 85. 0 plus whatever it is off my screen there, 10. So it's really the same process. You're just doing it in a shorter way. And while we're being fancier, we should be able to just destructure this thing right here. We can say total points. No, not that. Total points and total max points. And then we get rid of this stuff, and it's even shorter, like this. Oh, except it's going to be mad because we already have total points out here. Okay, I'm going to undo that. You get the idea. You could probably pull that off and do some fancy destructured renaming or something, but maybe that's not worth it. Okay, so we got a little bit fancier there, and that's fine. Now, why is it mad when we delete this? Pause the video and see if you can explain out loud what the problem is. Let me show you. Unsafe usage of optional chaining. If it short circuits, this is coming from our linter. With undefined, it will throw a type error. So pause the video and think about why this is here. Okay, did you do it? Did you pause the video and actually take the time to think this through before you get the spoiler here? Okay, so what this is saying, and again, on these linter things, you can click on here. You could take this and talk to Warp or something, or break it down, however. But what this is saying here is, again, if let's say this is undefined. Let's say this is undefined. What's going to happen? We're going to have undefined, and we're going to be trying to destructure keys from undefined. Another way to say this is it would be as if I type this code here. I'm just going to say whatever, some key from undefined. Can you see why that wouldn't make sense? We can't have undefined dot something, right? So it means we cannot use destructuring if something is undefined. So instead, what we do is this thing here. So what this is saying now, looking at this in entirety, if this is undefined, this is an OR, logical operator. If this is undefined, then you know what? We're just going to set total points and total max points to 0 we'll destructure 0 and 0, and we'll end up with 0, which actually is a pretty clean way to do this, I suppose. It kind of handles some edge cases because you just get back a 0. You don't get any weird errors. You don't have to add a bunch of if statements and things like that. So all in all, I'm pretty satisfied with this solution. There's more that we can finagle and stuff like that. Let's just do just to be a little bit nuts here. Let's again, this is where you kind of cross the line into getting too fancy. But what if I just took this and popped it in here? What if I didn't have that variable? And then just delete this variable. It's a little bit shorter, right? And if we're going to get that fancy, why can't I do this again? What if I just cut this, pop this here, and then delete this variable? Right? So now this is getting, a little crazy, but if you're following along here, this is sometimes the type of stuff that I like to do. But this is definitely where, again, fortunately, I get to work pretty, I have some creative control and I kind of get to implement stuff I want to. But I would have to say that, it's especially as an entry level person on a team, you don't just get to write the code how you want to. And this is, so this what I'm getting at is this is definitely could be argued that, hey, this code is not readable and we don't like it this way. So, but it's still kind of good because we saw kind of the most explicit version and we made it a little bit fancier. And now we're going into, like probably too fancy of methods. Let's see if there's any other craziness that we can add here. I guess that's not, I think there's more, but I suppose what you could do, nah, that's good enough. We've already gotten, this is like one level beyond what you probably should do in terms of readability. But hey, it's your work and your code. So if you like to keep things clean and short and everything, then, this is how I would write it for myself for sure.